Hey people, so remember ketchup quickies? Yeah, that's basically what this is. We're gonna knock out some Patreon requests here, so this is basically the equivalent of a ketchup quickie. Do I need to spend a lot of time explaining this? I sure hope I don't, because we're just gonna get right into it. First on the docket, Sons of Apollo 2020. Assuming those are Roman numerals and I'm not supposed to be pronouncing it like yeah, this right here, this is basically a prog rock supergroup. They've been kicking around since 2017, and when I describe these guys as a supergroup, like, I mean a motherfucking supergroup. Like, if you're into modern prog, the pedigree here really speaks for itself. Keyboardist Derek Sheridan, vocalist Jeff Scott Solo, Ron Bumblefoot Thal on guitar duty, Billy goddamn Sheehan on bass. Is it Sheehan or Sheehan? I forget. And no less than Mike Portnoy himself on drums for this outfit. Like, oh man, you can smell the prog coming off this thing. Just, oh man, it smells like Mountain Dew and Funyuns. But needless to say, this is an album for those of you prog heads out there, particularly those of you modern prog enthusiasts. If you know any of these names, you likely have some idea of what this album is trying to give you, and that is going to be a heavy, technical, and complicated groove. And you know what? I'd say that's exactly what they deliver on this record. This album is very dense, very thick, very meaty. Sheehan's always been a virtuoso on the bass, and he holds very little back on this record. Bumblefoot also delivers some very excellent riffage and some exquisite lead work all throughout, as you'd expect him to. He uses a lot of colorful and spacey sounding guitar tones that give the record a very proto-futuristic kind of feel. It's kind of in the same vein as like the last couple of Haken records or the better stuff from Seventh Wonder, if you kind of know what I'm reaching for here. That tone is also very well boosted by Sheridan's synth work, and Portnoy's drums are all over the map on this release. One of the more, for lack of a better word, Portnoy sounding Portnoy albums I've heard over the past few years. Like, it's good to hear him back again. I mean, that might just be me, though. The last thing I remember hearing Portnoy on was that Neil Morse thing. But yeah, I gotta give it up. This is a prog record that really scratches that particular prog itch for me pretty well. It's a very solid prog record, and it's a prog record that doesn't stay completely rooted in one sound or style necessarily either. It opens up with Goodbye Divinity, which is just a raging, bouncy as fuck opener, prime single material right out the gate. That song flows into Wither to Black, which Bumblefoot said was written specifically because the guys created this riff that sounded something like Rush meeting Soundgarden, and yeah, you definitely hear it. That track slams right into Asphyxiation, which apparently the working title for that song was 9 Inch Meshuggah. Oh yeah, I definitely see that. Other standouts here include Fall to Ascend, where Portnoy just unleashes the beast all over his kit. King of Delusion, where the operatic pianos come out and all the melodrama, you know, starts to unfold. And not to mention that epic as hell closer, New World Today, which clocks in at around 13-15 minutes. Man, that track really goes for broke. Bumblefoot soaks his guitars in reverb, and that spacey vibe is cranked all the way up to 11, and dear Lord, how can I put this? Did anyone here play Shadow of the Beast 2? yeah, it's kind of like that. For a modern prog record, I'd say this is pretty decent. Again, every member of this outfit is insanely talented, and they are all showing up and giving 100% here. There's not a lot I can really talk down to in this particular project. It is a pretty wonderful listen. If you're into this kind of thing, you know, if you're a big prog head, then yeah, give it a shot. Though, you know, I just gotta say, this is like a prog album for prog heads and kinda nothing much else. This is a work for people who know and love their prog and are at least familiar with the genre. It doesn't require a vast knowledge of prog to enjoy, not by any means, but you know, it's kind of a niche record. It knows who it's here to entertain. It's not really trying to reach outside of that particular box or that particular prog ecosphere, and you know, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but you gotta admit, like, I mean, there's nothing wrong in just catering to an audience that, you know, is gonna love and respect what you're doing, but I don't know, especially given the talent on display here, I would have loved to have seen something more adventurous or something a bit more... you know, this didn't just have to be a prog record, is all I'm saying. With the lineup you've got here, you could have made something absolutely phenomenal, and instead they just kind of came together and made a prog record, you know? It's kind of prog vanilla, like prog standard, classic Coke prog. And, you know, I also got to admit that all that cribbing from other bands, you know, cribbing from Rush, cribbing from Soundgarden, cribbing from Meshuggah, crib, 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 crib. This is a fucking nursery reward, all these cribs. I would have loved to have seen these guys do something that was just wholeheartedly original, and really it's just more, just kind of an exercise in prog flexing. But, like, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, not at all. And for what it is a very good example of that. Very, well, like I say, it's something that if you're not into this genre, I'm not sure how much appeal there probably is gonna be there for you. It is just, at the end of the day, some really, really solid ass prog. And you know, I can respect the hell out of that. 2020 gets 4 Vanilla Cokes out of 5.
It's a great question.
AJJ, good luck everybody. You know, this feels like a band I probably should have tackled sooner at some point, doesn't it? AJJ, or as they used to be known, the Andrew Jackson Jihad, came about around 2004, and they've been hammering out a very specific kind of acoustically driven, lo-fi brand of folk punk. The kind of folk punk that has a much greater emphasis on folk than it does punk. There's something about these guys, they remind me of like an alternate universe Violent Femmes where, you know, they basically stayed the Violent Femmes but got really, really, really politically charged. Like, not that the Femmes haven't done that before, but like AJJ is like just political shit. They're a group that I've kept very light tabs on, and I definitely wouldn't say I'm like a big fan or anything, but you know, every once in a while they'll like drop something new, a single or an album or whatever. I'll hear about it and it'll be like, oh yeah, these guys exist. Oh hey, let me spin whatever they got right now. Dum-de-dum. Okay, that's nice. And then I'll put it away and never think about it again, and the cycle repeats itself every 3 to 5 years whenever these guys, oh yeah, they exist. They're a very, oh yeah, they exist kind of band for me. I mean, it's not like these guys are bad or anything. They are very good at what they do, but they also make a very particular kind of music for a very particular kind of niche. Here I am talking about Sons of Apollo being niche. Ooh, this is niche, people. And you know, as much as I love my folk punk, stuff like this, I kinda gotta be in a certain mood for it, and I'd be lying if I couldn't say pretty much all of this exact same stuff about this same record here. Like, It's AJJ. They're keeping things lo-fi, they're keeping things acoustic, and overall it still sounds good. Sean Bonnett's got a very unique and pleasing vocal style. Preston Bryant's work behind the lead guitars and keyboards is subtle enough to fit in with the acoustic vibe without taking too much away from it. You know, it adds that extra bit of color and flavor to their sound. That is very much appreciated, especially in an acoustic folk like this, where it can be so hard to fuck that up. And Mark Glick's work behind the cello has definitely helped flesh out the low end of their sound, especially across, you know, these last few records that they put out. Overall, my initial impression is that, yeah, it's another AJJ record with all the good and not as appealing that comes with it. It is an AJJ record, and I can get down with this, even if I'm not like head over heels in love with it. You know, sonically, I can definitely appreciate this. It's a very good sounding record. But well, maybe this is just my ignorance of the band's other material showing through here. Like I said, I am a very, very casual fan when it comes to these guys. Like, this is probably the first album I've really sat down and analyzed, you know, from a critical perspective. So this is my first time reviewing them, and I gotta say, fuck, this album is bleak! Like, don't get me wrong, I know AJJ isn't exactly the Archies. They're not a positive, peppy, sunshiny kind of group, even at the best of times, but like, I still remember these guys at least having kind of a sense of humor in places. I don't know, a lot of their past material, even though it could get bleak, I remember they had like a tongue-in-cheeky nature about. Their last album was called The Bible 2. You know what I mean? Like, real talk, man. This record was just hard to get through in moments lyrically. Now, again, nothing against its sound. It sounds great. The music is outright wonderful, but some of the lyrics and topics discussed here, like, God, do they hit close to home, and God, do they hit in the most bleak, sad, depressing fucking ways. Songs like A Poem and Feedback are takedowns of the corporatization of America and how we're all becoming more and more desensitized and unable to connect with each other as the information age drags on. Songs like Normalization Blues and Mega Guillotine 2020 outline the downward fucking nightmare spiral that American politics has become over the past 4 years, and like how fucking powerless we are to stop any of it. And like, Jesus, this record just never fucking lets up, is my point. Everything is miserable, existence is shit, there is no future, no hope, no chance at peace, absolutely nothing you can do to stop it or save yourself or save anyone you love from the oncoming onslaught of shit and misery and failure and destruction. And is this a Father John Misty record in disguise? I mean, there is still plenty to enjoy about this record overall, but again, it kind of has a lot of stuff kind of stacked against it. It's a very niche product for a very niche audience, and even to its niche, I can't help but feel like this would be kind of an exhausting record. If you don't mind the emotional workout it takes to get through this one, I can still say it's solid, nevertheless. Solid, but ugh, man, just take your happy pills before you listen to this one, man. Good luck everybody gets 3 worlds on fire out of 5. Raspberry Bulbs. I gotta admit, this is a band I was completely in the dark with before it was requested, though when I dug them up, I have to admit, the descriptors that other people used to talk about them really did pique my interest. These guys are supposedly taking hardcore punk and fusing it with traditional black metal. And you know, the more I sit back and think about it, the more I kinda realize, why isn't stuff like this done more often? Really, the genres have more in common than we like to give them credit for. Lo-fi to no-fi production styles, raw, edgy, and graphic lyrics, and a panache for artists to go completely over the top and insane, even downright scary in moments. You'd think these two genres would really get along better. You'd feel like this would be a fusion we'd see more often, but Yeah, no. It's weird thinking about how much these genres really do have in common. And it's cool that there are bands out there trying to make it happen. Now Kiss. Taking the melodies and grooves of a more traditional hardcore style act, you know, stuff like Black Flag, Agnostic Front, Cro-Mags, that really gritty, early, ugly kind of punk rock, and fusing it with black metal more in the old school style of, say, like Bathory or Blasphemy, the stuff that's also really raw and just rugged and unpolished. I can already hear a subset of my audience just foaming at the mouth at the description like this. Oh, gimme, I want it right now, in my face, all over my face, do it, ah! And you know what? Here's what I'll say. If you happen to be in that particular category, go nuts. This is an easy recommendation. You'll probably love this album to bits, and consider this my firm and fervent recommendation to you guys. Alone. If anything I'm saying here sounds like your bag, this is probably going to do a really good job of scratching that particular ugly, dirty, raw, dark itch for you. You know, you'll probably love this. Did I love it though? Well, here's the thing. When this album hits, it hits hard. These guys fuse those two genres together with such proficiency in moments, you just have to admire the fuck out of it. These guys really do nail it. Tracks like Spitting from on High, Ultravires, and They're After Me just do such a great job of capturing that raw, dirty, grimy, ugly as hell style of heavy hardcore that you'd almost swear this record is 30 years older than it actually is. It's intentionally lo-fi, and it does like a really good job of boosting that aesthetic, that just raw and just absolutely blood-soaked and gritty aesthetic. This is one of those albums that knows how to polish something without using actual polish. That probably sounds really weird, but just take it like this. It's an ugly record that sounds beautiful. Like, in its strongest moments at least, this album gets how you do that kind of thing right. We've all heard bands that don't do it right. This is a band that does it right. Like, when this album nails it, it really nails it, but in my opinion at least, it's also very imperfect. See, one of the things about these particular genres, the genres they're trying to fuse, you know, the hardcore and the black metal, in my opinion, those particular styles tended to work best in like small explosive bursts. You know, your Bad Brains or your Minor Threats, they would come in, spend 20 minutes just exploding dynamite all over an EP or a record or whatever, just blow you to fucking smithereens and leave you smoking at the end of it. And it would only take like 15, 20, 25 minutes if it's a double album. My problem with The Age of Mirrors is it kind of spends too much time digging around. This is a record that is stuffed with interlude tracks, 4 in total. I know y'all get salty at me when I gripe about this kind of thing, but this record especially, they are just not welcome here. They do absolutely nothing but weigh down the record and fuck with the tone and the intensity. They watered down an album that really needs no extra dilution, people, so they aren't always the worst thing in the world, but on this record, yeah, I'm gonna bitch about them because all they do is hurt. All they do is hurt this record and make it longer and flabbier than it really needs to be. And on top of even that, there are some tracks on this record, particularly in like the middle portion, that really don't do anything for me. They feel like filler. They feel like filler on an album that already has a bunch of interlude tracks and already feels kind of padded out, and like, it's just a shame, you know, because when this band hits, they hit so hard, but they only hit that hard every once in a while. The album as a whole feels way more padded than it has any right to be. And this isn't a long record either, it's only 38 minutes. But what I'm saying is, you could have shaved off like 20 of those minutes and this would have been a much leaner and tighter experience overall. This record honestly feels more like a really, really banging ass EP, kind of padded and stretched out to be a full-length album. And again, that pains me to freaking tears because the record is so great in places. You really see the potential here. If this album's flabbier moments don't get under your skin, I'd still say this is a solid bop, but man, this is a record that needs a lot of edges sanded off of it. I'm sorry. It's definitely a record that's better in pieces as opposed to its whole, but man, those are some damn good pieces, so I still gotta give credit where it's due. Before the Age of Mirrors gets 3.5 goths on treadmills out of 5. Dubioza Kolektiv. Am I supposed to be pronouncing the hashtag? Is this hashtag fake news? Do I have to say that every time I say the name of the album? Because I'm not gonna. But yeah, Dubioza Kolektiv are a Bosnian group that have been running around in the underground alternative scene for a very long time now, since 2004, and this is their 9th full-length album to date, and okay, this band is odd. Like, not the oddest band I've ever covered on this channel, though that's not exactly saying much, but they are certainly a group that's very hard to classify in any sense. People just right away, this music is without genre. I'm just not even gonna try. This is not classifiable. If you're asking me to compare this to something to help you understand what it is, I can't. It's Dubioza Kolektiv. Period. I'm very helpful, aren't I? I guess I can try? I guess that's my job, isn't it? I have to at least point to a vague direction of what their music could be, right? Okay. Think of it as like a ska, reggae, new wave, hip-hop fusion act that also brings elements of traditional Eastern European music, calypso, reggaeton, and mariachi into places as well. I'm still not helping, am I? People, this is basically just a band that does whatever the fuck they want to do. I feel like I'm at a loss to even try to describe what this music is, especially on a platform like YouTube where I can't really play a lot of their music for you to hear. This is definitely one of those bands you'll just have to hear it for yourself to see if you like it. They are definitely one of those acts that are unique and just weird enough that, you know, the adventure of checking them out alone is worth your time, and all their music is free to download or stream. It's on pretty much every major streaming platform. The guys literally give their music away on the Pirate Bay or whatever you want to do to get your music. I'm not gonna judge you for however you want to get this album. I mean, the band doesn't judge you, why the hell should I? But yeah, I'm just gonna say, this is worth checking out, if only for the spectacle of it. And these guys go out of their way to make sure you have the opportunity to check it out if you want to, so why the hell not? All I can do here is just kind of give you my personal sort of account with them, and I will say, I am genuinely intrigued by what they do. Man, this record, it's just like ska as fuck. It's not a ska record, mind. It plays with so many other different genres and styles and compositions that to nail it to one specific genre feels so incorrect to do with them. But man, the guitars, the beats, the way their vocalists and a lot of the guest features on this record sing with that distinctive kind of ska flow and rhythm and rhyme scheme. Like, it's not a ska record, but man, like if you're into the ska-ass ska punk stuff like Five Iron Frenzy and Real Big Fish, those guys that really go over the top with it, I say definitely give this a shot. That'll probably be up your alley. It's not exactly like that, but those of you who like a sunnier, kind of goofier ska vibe, it's got that same kind of thing going for it. Again, I have to stay kind of vague when I describe this band to you because, like, while they definitely have a goofy side to them, they aren't entirely goofy. In fact, some of the songwriting can be downright pointed and topical. Like, when they do decide to write a political song, like Cross the Line or Take My Job Away, these guys can be surprisingly savage in their commentary. When they want to, at least. This band is definitely not without skill at crafting lyrics. They can really come at you with a message when they want to fucking pummel you with it. But at the same time, they also have a song called Hoy Marijuana. Hoy Marijuana. Yeah, this is basically ripped right out of a Cheech and Chong record. And then there's also stuff like French Song, which, on the surface at least,
I wanna write a song to get popular in France, so when I play my tune, everybody dance.
Is just like about, now French is weird, y'all. Si vous play, merde, oh. In a weird way, this record almost reminds me of the last Five Iron Frenzy album, in that, you know, that record too was surprisingly bold and political and had a decent amount of serious and pertinent messages about what America was becoming at the time. You know, that record had its moments too where it could really just get to ya. But it also had battle dancing unicorns with glitter. Like, this band, how do I even put it into words? You see what I mean? This group is like if you cross Chumbawamba with Sublime and then make them play next to a Tetris arcade cabinet in a Mexican restaurant. If that description helps. Its weirdness alone might be a turnoff for some people. And I have to admit, this band and the way they bounce just all over the goddamn place and can't stick to any one particular like theme or tone or style or even message, it feels disjointed. Like, it's very disjointed. My first few listens, at least, left me unsure of how to feel. I will say though that it is a wholly fascinating record, and nobody is out there doing what these guys do. That on its own makes it pretty admirable. And you know, credit where it's due, everyone on this record plays and performs the music very well, so at least from a technical standpoint, yeah, it is still impressive. It might be challenging for you, but I do gotta admit, every time I've come back to this album, I grow to love it a little more, or I discover something else about it that intrigues me or captures my attention even more. This is a record that has been growing on me, I gotta admit. It doesn't leave the best first impression, but it does demand you keep coming back to it, and I gotta admit, I did want to keep coming back to it. Even though I wasn't sure what to think about it, it has left me intrigued. And that is definitely a good thing. Fake News gets 4 genres out of 5. Okay, how do you pronounce that band name? Are you sure about that? Hey, look, man, I'm just trying to avoid some salty-ass comments, alright? But seriously, Sløtface are here following up from their 2017 debut with their new record, Sorry for the Late Reply. And you know, one comment I've totally gotten this year is, "Aw, Crash, you're giving out way too many 3s and 3.5s and all this middle of the road stuff. Why haven't you gone whole hog on anything, man? Why haven't you done the thing?" Y'all don't really sound like that, I'm just playing. I mean, to be honest with you people, if it seems like I've been giving out a lot of 3s and 3.5s and whatnot, it's mostly because it's kind of been a 3.5 kind of year so far. Most of the stuff I've covered this year has just been very either mildly okay or just like mildly disappointing. It's still also super early in the year yet, so we haven't had the opportunity to really be blown away by too much yet, but I don't know, there haven't been too many records that have absolutely made me fall head over heels for them. There have been exceptions, but not a lot, and likewise there haven't been that many records that have just boiled my piss either. Even some of the records that were supposed to suck. You know, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. Green Day isn't that bad, I'm sorry. Go, keep yelling at me. Keep yelling at me, it's still not that bad. Have you heard the New Theory record? Listen to that New Theory album and tell me Green Day is the worst of the year. I mean, real talk, people. There just haven't been that many albums that have really popped or resonated or made a huge splash in the year so far. Not that many of them, at least. I will say, though, the new Sløtface? Okay, this one definitely stands out. While you can call this pop punk, it's not like what you would typically think of as pop punk. They're more in the vein of like Mannequin Pussy or Potty Mouth or maybe even like White Reaper, and it's not so much pop punk but pop with like an alternative style crunchiness to it. There's a rawness and a power that pushes it outside of the standard pop formula, but an adherence and addiction to tasty and friendly melodies that it doesn't completely divorce itself from pop either. At the end of the day, this is really just a kick-ass bit of pop rock, people. It's got some very great guitar hooks, a surprisingly deep and thunderous bass presence. Like, legit, the low end of this album will rattle the fuck out of your speakers more than you would expect a record like this to do. Like, that snuck up on me. And it's got just the right balance of, like, cute and quirky, along with, like, crunchy and wicked to help make this scrumptious little cocktail of aggro and sweet. It's like a really well-made whiskey sour if it had poignant things to say about the modern age. Am I bad with metaphors? I'm starting to think I'm really bad at metaphors. Yeah, not only is this album a treat sonically, but lyrically, I can really jam on this too. It's not the deepest record out there, it's not even the most like heartfelt album out there. This isn't Brave Faces anyone or anything, but songs like Stuff, that's one part typical breakup song, and also one part sly breakdown of modern consumerism, Success with its lamentations on the constant and unrelenting pressure to succeed in today's society, or even songs like Passport, where even though they don't make any direct references to the particular situations in question, lyrics like I'm more than my passport, but it's a part of me, and it cannot be this manifest destiny, this bigotry that keeps flashing across our screens. Like I say, they're not specifically talking about it, but I hear lyrics like that and I just think, Brexit, border wall, Muslim ban. This album's definitely got some shit to say. Honestly, I have very few complaints about this record. It's catchy, it's thoughtful, it's fun, it's well played, it's brilliantly executed. The lyrics touch on greater, more topical themes at times, but they still remain personal and vulnerable. It's a pretty damn nice jam here. I don't know if there's like a huge hit on this record that like everyone has gotta hear. Like, it's not one of those records that blows me off my seat, but man, ooh, this is one of those albums that may have slipped under the radar for you, so if it did, show it some love, because my god, this record is very, very strong. Sorry for the late reply, gets 4.5 late reviews out of 5. But what did you think? Did any of these albums in particular strike your fancy? Feel free to let me know in the comments. Stay tuned for the next request rundown. That'll probably be the next video that comes out. I'm not covering Five Finger Death Punch. I don't want to. But stay tuned for that video. If you liked what you saw, feel free to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell while you're at it. And until next time, I'm Crash Thompson. And I'll see you in the next video.
Super special thanks to May Madison, I Love Matter, and brum brum brum.